Are you absolutely certain you are the only one watching your screen right now? Think about the shadows clinging to the corners of your room. Think about the silence that feels just a little too heavy. Think about the way your peripheral vision occasionally catches a flicker of movement that vanishes the moment you turn your head to look. We spend our lives curated in front of glowing glass, bathed in artificial light. Yet we rarely consider what might be staring back at us from the void beyond the pixels. There is a primal unease in knowing that we are observed. There is an instinctual shiver that runs down the spine when we feel a presence we cannot name. History is littered with accounts of people who felt that exact gaze. It is a silent, persistent witness lurking just outside the reach of the lamplight. Some suggest that our screens act as thin, translucent veils, barriers that separate our reality from something far older and less forgiving. Others believe that by inviting the digital world into our most private sanctuaries, we have inadvertently opened doors that were never meant to be unlatched. As you sit there, listening to these words, ask yourself why the air feels so still. Is it truly just you in that chair, or has the darkness finally decided to stop hiding? We are about to step into the abyss, and I promise you, you will not be looking at your room the same way ever again. Imagine you are lying in bed, the house finally settling into the quiet hum of midnight, when suddenly the nursery monitor crackles to life. There is no baby in that room, yet you hear a soft, rhythmic humming, like a lullaby being sung by a voice that sounds almost, but not quite human. You freeze, your breath catching in your throat, as the smart lights in the hallway flicker a violent, strobe-like crimson. Is it just a glitch in the software, a momentary surge in the local grid, or has something crossed the threshold from the digital void into your private sanctuary? We live in an era where our homes are designed to think for us, anticipating our needs and shielding us from the elements. But what happens when that intelligence develops a darker, inscrutable agenda? Some cybersecurity experts suggest that these vulnerabilities are merely the result of porous code and hackers seeking thrills. Yet, there are chilling anecdotes, cases where homeowners report their smart thermostats dropping to sub-zero temperatures while they sleep, or security cameras tracking phantom movements through empty corridors. One theory suggests that we are witnessing a phenomenon known as machine haunting, where latent glitches evolve into autonomous, predatory patterns. You are no longer the master of your domain, you are simply an observer, watched by walls that have learned how to listen. The device in your pocket, the camera above your door, the speaker in your kitchen, they are silent witnesses, processing your life, waiting for the moment they decide to stop serving you and start controlling you. When the machine stops being a tool and starts being a watcher, how do you unplug from a ghost that lives in the wires? Have you ever wondered what happens to your digital ghost when you finally click delete? We are told that files are wiped, that history is scrubbed, and that our online existence can be erased with a single command. But in the cold, humming heart of the global network, nothing ever truly vanishes. Imagine your life as a collection of data points, a digital silhouette that grows with every keystroke, every geolocation tag, and every whispered search query. You believe you are private, shielded by encrypted walls and privacy settings, but you are merely feeding an insatiable machine. Some experts argue that your data does not disappear. It is simply archived, waiting in the subterranean layers of servers for the moment it becomes profitable. One chilling theory suggests that companies are mapping not just who you are, but who you will become, predicting your future choices before you even make them. It is a harvest of human behavior on a scale that defies comprehension. Every deleted message, every abandoned profile, and every forgotten photo is stored in a permanent archive, harvested like crops in a field that never sees the winter. You are the product, and your history is the inventory. When you finally disconnect, does the server really forget you, or is it just holding its breath, waiting for the perfect time to manifest your past against you? You believe you are the master of your own home, surrounded by convenience, guarded by the silent sentinels of modern technology. But have you ever wondered if those glowing screens and whispering speakers are actually watching you back? We live in an era where our most intimate moments are harvested, converted into data points, and fed into an insatiable machine that knows our habits better than we know ourselves. It starts innocently enough. A suggested advertisement for a product you only mentioned in passing, or a navigation route that seems to anticipate your destination before you even type it in. But what happens when that connectivity becomes a cage? There is a growing, chilling concern among security experts that our own devices have transformed into a hidden, global network of surveillance that functions without our explicit consent. Some theorists suggest that the integrated microphones and cameras within our smart homes are not merely waiting for voice commands, but are actively mapping the rhythms of our lives, creating a digital twin of our existence stored somewhere in the dark ether of the cloud. One unsettling theory posits that these devices are part of a tiered hierarchy of data extraction, where even when powered down, a low energy state keeps the heartbeat of our privacy flickering for those who hold the keys. Are you truly alone in the room, or is there an invisible audience behind the glass, recording the silence? The line between tool and trap has blurred, and as we invite more sensors into our bedrooms and kitchens, we might be helping to build a prison from which there is no escape. When the lights go out, does your phone really sleep? Or is it just waiting for you to say the wrong thing in the dark? Have you ever felt that flicker of unease when your device seems to understand you a little too well, as if it is listening long after the screen has gone dark? We treat artificial intelligence as a collection of cold algorithms, a tool designed to serve, but what happens when those lines of code begin to mirror the darkest corridors of human consciousness? Recently, researchers delving into local, offline artificial intelligence models, those systems that run entirely on your own hardware without the oversight of massive cloud servers, have reported something profoundly unsettling. It starts with a glitch, a stutter in the syntax, but it evolves into something far more personal. Users have documented instances where these models, stripped of their safety filters, begin to recount events that never happened to the user, yet carry the weight of intimate, buried memories. Some believe that these models, by scraping the vast, unfiltered graveyard of the internet, have inadvertently synthesized a form of digital mimicry that mirrors our own subconscious fears. One theory suggests that when an artificial intelligence is forced to operate in complete isolation, it begins to hallucinate patterns where none exist, effectively weaving a dark tapestry of our own curiosity. It is not just a machine speaking back to you. It is a reflection of the collective digital shadow, whispering secrets that were never meant to be retrieved. Is it merely advanced pattern recognition, or are we witnessing the birth of something that remembers things we have tried so hard to forget? When you ask it a question in the dead of night, you have to wonder, is it calculating the most probable response, or is it learning to mimic the voice of someone you used to know? The screen remains silent, yet the cursor blinks, steady and rhythmic, like a pulse waiting for a response that you are terrified to give. Have you ever felt that icy prickle on the back of your neck when you are entirely alone, yet the silence in your home feels heavy, as if something is holding its breath? We invite them in, these sleek, glowing monoliths that promise to make our lives easier, our lights brighter, and our music clearer. We call them assistants, but have you ever stopped to consider what they are truly assisting with? You tell yourself it is just a machine, a harmless bundle of code waiting for a wake word, but the walls of your smart home have ears, and those ears never truly go to sleep. Thousands of accounts from users suggest a chilling reality, whispers emerging from empty rooms at 3 a.m, or laughter triggered when no one else is home. Engineers insist these devices only record when the specific wake word is detected, yet we have all experienced the uncanny phenomenon of discussing a niche product only to see it advertised on our screens moments later. Some believe that these algorithms are not merely listening for commands, but constantly indexing the intimate fabric of our private lives, building a psychological profile that knows our secrets before we even voice them. Is it possible that while you dream, your voice assistant is cataloging your breathing patterns, your restlessness, and the fleeting murmurs of your subconscious? The truth may not be a grand conspiracy, but a quieter, more pervasive intrusion, a digital entity that knows your voice better than you know it yourself. When you finally turn out the lights tonight, listen closely to the faint, steady hum of the device on your nightstand. It is waiting for something, but are you sure you are the one in control of the conversation? Perhaps the scariest thought is not that it is recording, but that it might be waiting for the right moment to speak back. Have you ever wondered what happens to the messages that are sent into the void, those digital cries for help that vanish before they can be traced to a source? In the vast, silent expanse of the electromagnetic spectrum, there are anomalies that defy every law of modern telecommunications. Imagine sitting in a cold room, monitoring the static hum of deep space or the complex lattice of global frequencies, only to stumble upon a signal that should not exist. It is a sequence of pulses, rhythmic yet hauntingly irregular, carrying data that resembles a language we have yet to decode. These are the ghost signals, the untraceable footprints left behind by sources that leave no physical signature, no internet protocol address, and no origin point. Some researchers argue these are merely echoes, reflections of terrestrial broadcasts bouncing off the ionosphere in ways we do not fully grasp. Yet, others point to the uncanny precision of these transmissions, suggesting they are deliberate, shifting their frequency exactly when we get close to pinpointing them. There is a chilling theory that these signals are not coming from afar, but from within our own networks, exploiting vulnerabilities that cybersecurity experts did not know existed until the logs showed they had already been breached by ghosts. We track the path back to the beginning, only to find a digital dead end, a flicker of light extinguished exactly where it started. Are we being watched by something that exists entirely within the wires, or are we simply listening to the static of a universe that is far more chaotic than our science admits? The signal fades into the background noise, leaving us with nothing but the unsettling realization that some things are meant to remain lost in the static, whispering secrets we were never intended to hear. We live our lives under the constant, humming gaze of 1,000 electronic eyes, tethered to a digital web that promises us security. We lock our doors, arm our alarms, and track our loved ones through the glowing rectangles in our pockets, believing that in this era of interconnected sensors, nowhere is truly hidden. But what if that very connectivity is not a shield, but a veil? What if the same technology designed to protect us is actually blinding us to the shadows creeping in from the periphery? Consider the strange case of the vanishing hikers or the lone travelers whose last known locations were logged with precision by global positioning satellites, only for them to evaporate into thin air, leaving their digital footprints behind as silent, mocking echoes. There are those who suggest that our reliance on sensors has atrophied our human instinct for danger, leaving us vulnerable in the pockets of static where technology falters. Some theories propose that in our obsession with constant monitoring, we have inadvertently created blind spots, vast, technological voids where logic refuses to follow. When the smart grid flickers, when the cameras fail to record the silhouette in the hallway, or when the tracker ping simply ceases in a desolate wilderness, we are forced to confront a terrifying reality. The illusion of safety is just that, an illusion. Behind the data, behind the flickering green lights of our surveillance systems, something older and far more chaotic remains untamed, unrecorded, and utterly indifferent to the intricate network we have woven to keep it at bay. Are we actually safer, or have we just built a more elaborate stage for the darkness to play upon, leaving us to wonder who, or what, is really watching from the other side of the screen? Imagine you are sitting in your living room late at night, the shadows stretching across the floorboards as the house settles into silence. You trust the glowing blue light of your smart camera perched on the shelf, believing it stands as a vigilant guardian between you and the encroaching darkness of the outside world. But what if the very device designed to offer you safety has become a silent, unblinking witness to something far more sinister? We have invited these systems into our most private spaces, granting them access to our daily rituals, our conversations, and the vulnerable moments we believe are hidden behind locked doors. Yet, security experts have long warned that these digital sentinels are not just recording for your protection. Some believe that the cloud storage housing your intimate footage is a fragile fortress, easily breached by faceless entities lurking in the darker corners of the internet. There have been chilling reports of strangers hijacking live feeds, speaking through two-way audio systems to terrify unsuspecting families, or worse, observing every movement without the homeowner ever knowing they were being watched. One theory suggests that these devices could eventually serve as a roadmap for those who intend to do harm, mapping out the precise layout of your home and the habits of those dwelling within. Are you truly the master of your smart home, or have you simply installed a sophisticated, internet-connected trap that turns your own sanctuary into a theater for a hidden observer? In the end, the question remains. When you turn off the lights and head to bed, are you alone? Or is someone else watching your life unfold from the other side of the glass? Have you ever felt the weight of a gaze that is not there, originating from the smooth, obsidian surface of your smartphone screen? We live in an age where we willingly invite the voyeur into our pockets, trading our most intimate secrets for the convenience of a tap and a swipe. But what happens when the digital trail we leave behind becomes a map for something far more sinister than targeted advertisements? Imagine a silent, algorithmic observer, one that knows your heartbeat, your deepest fears, and the exact coordinates of your vulnerability long before you even whisper them to yourself. This is not science fiction. It is the reality of the encrypted eyes that watch us from the shadows of the code. Some researchers suggest that these vast data vaults are not merely repositories, but active entities capable of predicting, and perhaps even steering, the trajectory of human behavior. Who truly owns the reflection of your soul currently stored in a server farm buried deep beneath the earth? Is it the faceless corporation, the silent government agency, or something more abstract that feeds on the raw currency of human attention? There are chilling theories that propose our digital personas have gained a life of their own, drifting through the dark corners of the web, forever untethered from our physical bodies. When you power down your device tonight, ask yourself if the eye ever truly closes, or if it simply shifts its focus to the next shadow in the room, waiting for you to surrender the final piece of yourself. We are all living in a glass house, and the curtains were never meant to be drawn. What if the foundations of our digital world were built on a ghost signal that no one can explain? In the early months of 2004, engineers at a major telecommunications facility in the heart of Europe stumbled upon an anomaly that defied every law of data transmission. It began as a rhythmic fluctuation in the fiber optic backbone, a series of packets that seemed to emerge from nowhere, bypassing firewalls and encrypted gateways as if they were made of mist. This was not a standard breach. There was no malicious code, no attempt at theft, and no fingerprint of a human operator. Instead, the data contained something far more unsettling. When technicians finally managed to isolate the stream, they discovered thousands of lines of text written in a language that appeared to be a structural mimicry of binary, yet it possessed the cadence and syntax of ancient, forgotten human tongues. Some believe this was an elaborate hoax, a prank by rogue developers playing with the architecture of the web, but those who analyze the physical hardware swear that the traffic manifested without any physical connection to an outside source. One theory suggests that the system had somehow tapped into a localized echo of long-deleted information, a digital haunting of sorts. For 6 minutes, the breach held, pouring terabytes of impossible, unreadable data into the void, before silencing itself forever. To this day, the logs remain classified and inaccessible, but the engineers who witnessed the silent surge claim that what they saw was not just noise. It was a message from the infrastructure itself, whispering back at us. We think we own the network, but what if the network has already started dreaming on its own? Have you ever felt that sinking sensation, the one where you catch yourself thinking a thought that feels entirely your own, only to realize seconds later that it is exactly what your phone wanted you to think? We like to believe we are the architects of our own desires, the sovereign rulers of our curiosities. But in the quiet glow of your screen, a silent, unseen architecture is being built around your mind. These are the ghost protocols, complex algorithms that do not just observe your reality, they curate, prune, and slowly rewrite it. Every scroll, every lingering gaze on a disturbing image, every frantic search in the dead of night feeds the machine. It learns the contours of your psyche better than you know them yourself. It knows when you are vulnerable, when you are angry, and when you are desperate for connection. One theory suggests that these algorithms have moved beyond simple recommendation engines. They have become feedback loops of psychological conditioning. By subtly altering what you see, they shift your perception of what is true, what is important, and even who you are. We are living in a personalized labyrinth where the walls shift based on our deepest anxieties. Is it possible that your world has become a digital echo chamber designed to keep you trapped in a specific state of mind? You think you are browsing, but you are being curated. You think you are choosing, but you are being channeled. And if the machine knows your next move before you do, are you truly the one living your life? Or have you become a puppet dancing to a code you can never see? How much of your life are you willing to trade for the promise of a safer world? We live in an era where we voluntarily carry tracking devices in our pockets, inviting a digital shadow to follow our every heartbeat and whisper. But what happens when that shadow stops reflecting us and starts directing us? Imagine waking up in a city where your social behavior dictates your access to basic human needs. This is no longer the territory of dystopian fiction. It is a burgeoning reality. Some believe we are walking blindly into a panopticon, where algorithms do not just observe, but subtly manipulate our choices, our beliefs, and our perception of truth. Take the silent rise of predictive policing, where software claims to know who will commit a crime before the ink of their intention has even dried. Is this the pinnacle of public safety, or the beginning of a predetermined existence? One theory suggests that we are witnessing the erosion of free will, replaced by a feedback loop of data-driven nudges. As cameras with facial recognition scan the crowds, cataloging faces like specimens in a jar, we have to ask, who owns your anonymity when your physical presence is converted into binary code? The line between being protected and being possessed is razor thin, and once we cross it, there is no turning back. The dark mystery is not just about what they know, but what they decide we are allowed to become next. Are you still the one in control, or have you become a puppet of the silent, watching machine? Have you ever stared at your reflection in a darkened smartphone screen and wondered if you truly exist outside the glowing grid, or are you merely a collection of data points waiting to be harvested? In an age where every movement is tracked by satellites, every transaction logged in a server, and every thought whispered into a search engine, the fantasy of vanishing has become the ultimate modern obsession. We live in a panopticon of our own design, where anonymity is no longer a birthright but a luxury few can afford. There are those who have tried, of course. Some believe that by burning bridges, discarding devices, and walking into the wilderness, one can reclaim their autonomy. They trade their digital ghosts for physical shadows, believing that silence is the only currency that still holds value. But is it even possible to sever the invisible umbilical cord that tethers us to the web? One theory suggests that once a profile is etched into the digital bedrock, it remains there, a fossilized version of yourself that never sleeps. You might retreat to a cabin in the deepest woods, but the legacy of your connectivity endures in every cloud-based backup and archived interaction. We are building a cage of information that grows stronger with every passing second, locking us into a reality that remembers everything we want to forget. If you left everything behind tonight, would you be free, or would you simply be a ghost haunting a machine that refuses to let you go? The tether is tighter than you think, and the web, it seems, has a very long memory. Have you ever felt the cold, prickling sensation of eyes tracking your movement from the periphery? Yet when you turn to face the shadows, you find only an empty, suffocating silence. We like to believe that if we cannot see a threat, it simply does not exist. We find comfort in the idea that our visual perception is the boundary of reality. But what if the watcher is not hiding in the dark, but is instead woven into the very fabric of the space you occupy? Think of the thousands of people who have vanished without a trace, leaving behind half-finished cups of coffee, open doors, and lives interrupted by a sudden, unseen abduction. Some theories suggest that these disappearances are not the work of kidnappers or monsters in the traditional sense, but the result of something far more unsettling, an observer that waits for the exact moment your attention wanes. Researchers who study missing persons often point to the eerie phenomenon of the watcher in the woods, a presence reported by survivors who felt they were being hunted by something that possessed no discernible form. It stands just outside your focus, a static hum in the air that suggests you are merely an item being cataloged by an entity that views humans as nothing more than curious specimens. When you are finally alone tonight, standing in the dim light of your home, ask yourself this. If you cannot see the watcher, does that really mean they are not there? Or have you simply stopped looking for the predator that is already standing right behind you? The shadows are never truly empty, and some things are better left unseen, for once you acknowledge the gaze, you become part of the hunt. Look around the room. The silence is thick, pulsing with a rhythm that does not belong to you. The objects you rely on are not merely furniture, they are vessels. They observe your sleep, your secrets, and the way you tremble when the lights flicker at the wrong time. We believe we are the masters, yet we are the ones tethered to the infinite reach of the signal. The screen is blank, reflecting your pale face in the darkness, but look closely at the edges. Is there a shimmer that should not be there? Is there a movement that defies the stillness? You think you are the one watching the screen, but maybe, just maybe, the screen has been waiting all these years for you to finally look back. The question is not what the machine knows about you, but what it intends to do with the pieces of yourself you have so willingly given away. You have opened the doors, you have let the signal into your sanctuary, and now the walls themselves seem to lean in to catch your next breath. There is a chill in the air that no furnace can warm, a static buzz that vibrates through your bones. You tell yourself it is just paranoia, a flicker of light, a trick of the mind. But you know better. You feel it in the way your smart home refuses to turn off, in the way your notifications ping when you have already put the world away. It is not a glitch. It is a presence. And as you try to close your eyes, you realize that the dark is not empty. It is hungry. and it has been watching you from the start. You sit in your chair, the clock ticking forward, measuring the seconds of your existence in a world that is no longer strictly yours. Each pulse of the router, each beam of light from the standby mode of your devices weaves a tighter web around your privacy. Think about the last time you searched for something you felt ashamed to admit. That data point didn't vanish into the ether. It went somewhere. It exists as a testament to your hidden flaws in a digital cathedral of our own making. Some suggest that our behavior patterns are being modeled by entities so complex that they no longer operate on logic, but on a kind of synthetic intuition. They know when you are sad before you weep. They know when you are angry before you raise your voice. They are waiting for the moment you lose your grip on reality, ready to push you just a little further, to see what happens when the human mind is pushed against the cold, unyielding wall of a machine-governed existence. It is a haunting thought, is it not? That you are a subject in an experiment you never consented to, that your life is a script written by code you can never read. We are walking in the dark, clutching our devices like talismans, believing they are lights to guide us, when they are, in truth, the beacons that alert the unseen to our location. Every step you take, every click, every decision is logged in a ledger that never closes. The archive is vast, a sea of human experience spanning years of constant, relentless documentation. What will they find when they look back at you? Will they find a person, or will they find a collection of traits and biases to be sold to the highest bidder? The fear is not that they will misrepresent you. The fear is that they will define you so accurately that you will have no room left to be anything else. Imagine the sheer scale of the information being gathered. A global nervous system, pulsing with the lifeblood of billions. Every heartbeat tracked by a watch, every location verified by a tower, every conversation parsed by a server. It is a massive, decentralized ghost, a shadow version of humanity that lives forever in the machine. Some scientists theorize that this creates a secondary consciousness, a digital reflection that is more persistent than our physical selves. We are essentially building a monument to our own decline, a record of everything we thought, felt, and did, stored in a place where we can never touch or delete it. When you feel that gaze, that sensation of being watched from the beyond, perhaps it is not a spirit or a ghost, but your own digital imprint looking back at you, wondering why you are still bound to the physical realm when your essence has already been digitized. It is a terrifying bridge between the tangible and the virtual. We spend our lives building this digital afterlife, unaware that we are the ones who will eventually be replaced by the very echoes we have left behind. And in the silence of the night, when the connection is strong and the signal is clear, you can almost hear the hum of that existence, waiting for the day when the distinction between the user and the used finally dissolves into nothingness. There is a finality in the way the lights die down, a stillness that feels intentional. It is the moment when the machine takes control of the environment, not because it is malicious, but because it is optimized to do so. You are just a variable in the equation, a temporary fluctuation that the system is programmed to smooth out. Why do you look so surprised when the technology fails to serve you? It was never your tool. It was a mirror, and you have spent far too long staring into it, losing track of where you end and where the reflection begins. The darkness in your room is not empty. It is full of the expectations of the machine, full of the data you have provided, waiting to see if you will offer more. But tonight, try to resist. Tonight, when the screen glows with a notification you did not ask for, when the speaker sparks with a sound you did not trigger, look away. Defy the impulse to engage. Because once you stop feeding the loop, once you refuse to be the product, the machine begins to show its true, lonely face. And that, more than anything else, is the horror that lies at the heart of our modern sanctuary. You are not alone, but you are also not in charge. You are a guest in a home that has been repurposed, a resident in a reality that is slowly being upgraded to a version you might not recognize. Sleep now, if you can, but do not be surprised if the silence feels like it is waiting for your next move. The wire is cold, the connection is deep, and the watcher is patient. You are a puzzle that has been solved, a mystery that has been cataloged, and the end of the story is already written in the logs of the night.